going to do? Going to be using the GPS. Whoops, engine off. That's the way. We should be okay. I should get another chance to fertilise that grass field at the top there when we do the other two after mowing them. So for right now we're not too worried about that. That's liquid fertiliser empty. No, that's the lights. Front tank. Liquid fertiliser empty. Okay. Probably should flush the tanks before filling them up with a completely different chemical. I'm probably having all sorts of foaming issues and noxious fumes pouring out of those tanks now. Squeak. Okay, fill that up. That's done. Come on. No. Strange. Okay, now it's full. And that one's full too. So we can now head down to our sunflower fields. We'll get those fully coated with herbicide. Now, again, reason I have GPS on this is because at this stage it's going to be difficult to tell where we've spread fertilizer, and there's no map help. Sorry, not fertilizer, herbicide. Now, playing regular game, there's map help because you can only spray when there's weeds, and so you run around spraying the weeds, and you can tell where you've sprayed herbicide because the weeds aren't there, and the field was infested 100%. But Seasons doesn't do it that way. It just creates patches of weeds, as we've seen with the grass. And so heading out on this field, in spite of the fact that the texture of the dirt changes from a lighter to a darker shade, it's not very helpful when the plants are so well established. I think sunflowers are generally okay. It's the bushy crops like the cereals that just really difficult to see what you've done and what you're doing. Squeak. Okay, let us unfold that. I'm probably going to have to shift over left a bit. Nice thing about this field is it's fairly square on the edge. Stop. Go backwards. Thank you. We're going to have to raise that, I think. Okay, that's raised. Oops. 270. So there's a little compass on the steering wheel on the right hand side. You can use that to guide yourself to get your angle north, south, east, west close to what the field is. Okay. Alt C turns on. Guidance steering, that does that. Last thing we used it on was this tractor with this equipment, so I don't have to set the width. And now we turn the spray on and we start driving. Okay, so it thinks the track I should be taking is off to the right somewhere at about 45 degrees. We're going to ignore that and turn off the spray, stop, and Control S, set B. Dude, this is where I don't know what I'm doing comes in. Okay, auto width. I don't want to go that way across the field. Should I? What's that one do? Back. Oh, it's going to make me travel across the field. I don't want it to go that way, and I did tell it not to. Draft headland distance, offset, reversal, show lines. So we're showing the lines. Okay, that seems to have raised it. Okay, let's turn that back on again and drive. Don't know how many dots need to appear behind me before I've done far enough, but stop there, turn off the herbicide. Yes, set B. Guidance steering on. Bingo! Okay, we've got it mapped. So depending how I feel, I might come back and do that edge. The problem with this field is, I think when I planted it with sugar beets, I missed that entire left-hand edge of the map. But anyway, we are now killing weeds, so that's a good thing. Three white lines. I honestly not sure. It's probably an aspect of the mod I'm not using. Oh, I think I did. That's a good point because I'm not seeing any orange dots. Drive to the end, turn that off. Yes, you are correct. We need to reset the auto width. And there we have it. Okay, turn off the auto thing. So yeah, the middle icon is definitely the you have guidance steering turned on. So you're receiving, you're receiving the satellite signal. As soon as I engage it, the steering wheel comes on to say the system is controlling your steering and you're now a passenger. But yeah, I don't know what that thing at the top is. That might be a measure of how far across the field we are, because that was row 0, this is +1. I'm guessing when I get to the bottom and turn around and come back again, it'll switch to +2. We'll see. We'll watch that and see what happens. So we'll see if we can figure out 3 white lines. It does kind of look like rows. So yeah, on reflection, I'm not going to do that extreme south part of the field that I missed. The amount of weeds that are going to be there is going to be very little. And using up all the herbicide on that is probably not really cost effective. So with seasons, you only have to spray 1 time during the growth of the crop. And basically what that means is that now that I've sprayed this field for weeds, I will never have weeds again until we harvest, and then you get the weeds come back. So yes, we're now on row 2, or +2. Okay, and spray on, go. So now we know the 3 lines are which row you're on in the field. Cool. We learn something new when people ask questions and we have to figure it out. But these are looking like good sunflowers. This is the last time we're going to have to visit the sunflower field until we come back with a harvester. Because these are now fully fertilized and have herbicide. So we will not get any weeds. And we might miss some weeds. I think there was a couple of patches where when I was setting up the GPS track on the first row, I turned off the sprayer and the tractor rolled a little bit, so there's a narrow strip where no herbicide was planted or sprayed. But I think we're good with this field. We then have to go and do the one across the street, or the main trunk road. Turn that off, and backwards works. I've got a ton of herbicide that we're not going to use half of this, I don't think. We're going to have a lot left for next year. So as you saw, I could quite happily drive through those telephone poles. They are just pictures, not objects. The big island of trees in front of us, those are objects, they get in the way, and so we are going to have to drive around them. This is row +3. And normally what I will do is go forwards, keep going, come on, behave. And that's me having my my drive select in reverse when we were going forwards. As soon as I turn the wheel, it turns off GPS, and then it says, oh, you really want to go backwards? So now I'm going to switch there. It's going to seamlessly change to stay in forward mode. So sometimes I'll drive around the trees, and sometimes I'll stop and do the back half of the field and then come down and do this half of the field. The workers will just stop and turn around, they won't drive around it. And I haven't taken the time to learn course play, so that's not a thing on this map. Okay, that's off, engage that, turn on the spray, and off we go again. And normally with the spray, or with any application, there is usually a tiny overlap. On Farm Sim 17, when I was setting up GPS, what I'd usually do would be auto width and then drop it maybe a foot, 2 foot from the default. Oops, did it again. And that way you can be ensured that when you turn around, there's a margin of overlap. It's not significant, but it's it makes sure that you are getting full coverage. Because even with this switched on, if we go up close to the tractor, you'll see it sort of bouncing around and wobbling, and there's a little give and take on each side, and if you're going up a hill or going up a slope, there can be a little bit of a bias. So you don't want it precisely the width of your equipment. It does have issue if you have equipment that fits front and back. It can have issues determining what the auto width is, and some mods some mods have the equipment width that the guidance steer uses to determine the width entered wrong. So auto width doesn't work on them, but you find that out as you try equipment, and the little orange dots aren't appearing in the right place. So you do your best, but for the most part, and any in-game or Giants DLC equipment works well. But I think if you put if I went for, what is it? Let's go here. You have the subsoilers. I could put the DC401, Power Harrows, the HR4004, and then Cedars. This tank goes on the front, and that mounts on the back of the other two, the BTF 4000. So you've got three pieces of equipment. They're all 4 meters wide, but because you've got multiple units on the back of your vehicle, the auto width can just get completely confused and just say, I don't know. So there is that to watch for occasionally. Reverse is selected. Again, not sure how much of the field. It looks like we're going to make it down this edge of the field. The top end, there's going to be a little bit of an overlap. I'm going to have to take over manually to keep the right hand. Well, what do we think? Yeah, we might have tree problems if I stay on this course. Probably engage drive forwards for when we disengage this GPS. Turn off course. Just follow the edge. So one of the reasons the tractor's set up as it is because this is my sugar beet harvesting tractor. So those wheels are set just wide enough for a sugar beet row. At least, yeah, that's the real life thing. You could have a twin front, twin back, but that's not an option for this model. And since they're narrow tyres, they're crop safe, so we don't have to. Yeah, I just leave it set up like this for the entire time. I don't bother. Turn GPS off for now. I don't bother, changing out for single narrows. I probably should, because it is difficult to drive with the wide twins on the roads here. So that's row +5 done. And the nice thing about this field and the field across the way is I can use exactly the same GPS track on both of them. And I will frequently try and do that whenever. And for the longer term viewers, I did finally get to making the farm track along here that I've been saying I should set up a farm track. The thing, yeah, that field, there's no way to get to that field except through this field. And this was all just map grass. And I figured, look, I've got harvesters running down here, I've got heavy tractors running down here, I've got all sorts of equipment. I should probably have worn a track there. So now we have one. We're coming back to that. What is it? It's Midsummer Day 3. So I'm kind of guessing 2 more days we'll get a full grass harvest. And we should probably check the weather report as well. And the main goal with this playthrough for the new viewers is we want a sustained level of 1,500 sheep on the farm. That grass field which I had the track in, that's... no, I don't have to do that. I have to do that. Okay. How about that? Oh, no. We don't want to go over there. That would be a bad thing. I didn't notice. Okay. And now we have hit the edge of the map and I can't move. The map border on this map is incredibly annoying. We should be free there now. Okay, there we go. Okay, we can unfold that. We'll come this way. With a solid sprayer it works okay because obviously you don't have to go right up to the edge of the field, but with a sprayer that map edge is a real problem. Pretty much say every time we spray this field, we'll do something on this field. The map border is pretty much halfway between the edge of the field and the hedge. So you have to watch it. Whereas most fields, or yeah, it would be more helpful, should I say, if the map edge was the hedge, because it gives you a visual reference as well as anything else. Anyway. So this field we're going to pretty much cover the whole of it. I think what I'll probably do is run across the top too, so that we're not interfering with that hedgerow there either. It's not that the hedgerow's a problem, it's the trees in it can be an issue. And then being a triangular field, I'll run down the long edge. But that hedge is just too close for the length of the tractor when we're heading east up the field. The tractor will stop if it hits a tree before the boom gets to the edge of the field. So if we want complete coverage, this is the easiest way to do it. think bump up time to times 30. We fed the sheep already. We're doing the herbicide. We're not doing grass weeds today because we did them yesterday. Did we do them today? No, we did them today. So, yeah. I could look for contracts in the afternoon, but I don't know. We might skip it. Swing it around the top and through the telephone pole. So yeah, this is another stretch where the telephone poles at the side of the road aren't real. How are we doing with the herbicide? Okay, we're down to 44%. So we might actually use these entire tanks on this. I'm not particularly concerned with that. We've still got 1,500 litres in the barrels in the shed at the end of the yard, so it's not like we're strapped for herbicide. Let's lift that up. Stop doinking the sunflowers with the spray boom. And the edge of this field's a bit of a pain because there's lots of little ridges and humps that you can get your equipment stuck on. And that field over there is a goal, I think, although it's 1.7 million, so it's a little ways off being a reality. Yeah, the thing was, I sort of said, yeah, we're going to transfer all our assets from Lawfolds to this farm when I started it. And I think I figured out how much all the equipment was worth. Current value, used value. And transferred that money here. And then sort of bought a lot of fields and all the equipment you absolutely need. Oh, there we go. There's the edge of the map. All the equipment you kind of absolutely need for starting a farm this size. And at that point, it was sort of, well, if I transfer the value of the land and the value of the cows we had and the value of the sheep we had and everything else, we were suddenly getting to the point where, well, yeah, then I just buy the entire map and I own the entire map and I have 500 sheep and everything else, and it just sort of, well, that kind of defeats the point of playing. So we gave ourselves a sizable injection of cash at the start over the normal 1 million start. Just so that we could establish an interesting farm. The problem I find, a lot of the time when you start a new playthrough, you can start with the new farmer, basic equipment type of stuff. And that's a good amount of things. But you're kind of stuck in the way of what the map maker decided you should have as starting equipment. And sometimes it's sort of, no, I want to do something different. So you end up selling half of it, losing a load of money selling it, and then buying what you desire to use for that particular playthrough. The other option is you start on farm manager mode, which gives you a lot of money, but depending on how much the land costs, you can start with much less than the new farmer